The crew was packing up. Lights dimmed slowly across the wide stage. The camera dolly rolled to the side and wires curled like sleeping snakes. People moved fast, heads down, eyes on tomorrow. It was the final day of shooting, as was supposed to be a moment of celebration. But something felt off. It's not loud, not obvious. It was a quiet kind of wrong. Keanu Reeves stood near the exit door with his coat draped over one arm.
Ow.
He had already said his thanks to the director. It hugged 3 crew members. The car waiting outside had been there for 15 minutes, but he didn't move. His eyes were fixed on a small corner of the set. Not the camera, not the lights, just a black curtain that barely fluttered. Behind that curtain sat Ana de Armas. She hadn't come out after the last scene, not even for the group photo, not even for the cake someone brought in. Her voice was gone all morning, not in the physical sense. She still spoke when needed, but her words had become short, clipped, and her eyes avoided most people. No one noticed, or maybe no one wanted to ask. People were tired, long shoots made. Everyone numb by the end, but Keanu noticed. He always noticed. Someone walked past him, slapped his shoulder, and said, "You're free, man. Go rest." He smiled politely but didn't reply. Instead, he stepped back into the set and walked slowly toward the curtain. Every footstep felt heavier now. He wasn't rushing, wasn't even sure why he hadn't left. When he reached the curtain, he didn't pull it aside. He just spoke quietly. "Anna," he said. "You good?" No reply. A few seconds passed. Then a soft rustle. The kind of sound clothes make when someone shifts but doesn't stand up. He waited. "You're supposed to be gone already," she said finally, voice barely above a whisper. He smiled gently, even though she couldn't see it. "I know." "Then why are you still here?" He thought about lying, saying he forgot something, or that the driver was late. But he didn't. He leaned against the wooden frame behind the curtain and let the silence grow honest. "Because you didn't come out." Her breath caught. It was so soft, so subtle, it could have been mistaken for background noise. "I'm fine, Keanu," she said quickly, too quickly. He didn't push. "Okay," he replied, but he didn't leave. Another few moments passed. Then the curtain moved slightly, and Anna stepped out. Her makeup was still perfect, but her eyes were swollen, and her smile didn't reach her cheeks. He looked at her not with concern, not with pity, just calm, understanding, the kind that doesn't ask for explanations, the kind that simply stays. She looked down at her shoes. They weren't her usual heels. Just plain white sneakers, the ones she wore during rehearsals, when no cameras were rolling. "I didn't want it to end like this," she said quietly. "Like what?" he asked. "With me pretending everything's okay?" Keanu nodded slowly. "You don't have to pretend now." She blinked hard, trying not to cry. She paused, swallowing her breath. "I thought I'd feel proud. I thought finishing this film would feel like a win, but now I feel empty." He didn't interrupt. "All this time I told myself, if I could just make it to the end, it would be worth it. The long days, the loneliness, the pressure. But now we're here, and I don't feel any of that. I just feel like I missed something." Keanu sat down on a wooden crate beside her. "You didn't miss anything. You gave everything. Sometimes giving everything leaves you with nothing to hold on to." She nodded slowly, almost afraid to agree out loud. "You know what hurts the most?" she said. "What?" No one noticed. He looked straight at her. "I noticed." Her throat tightened. Her lips trembled, but she fought it. "You always noticed," she said. He stayed quiet. Sometimes silence was the kindest answer. A production assistant called from across the stage. "Mr. Reeves, your car is ready." He raised a hand but didn't move. Yana looked at him. "You don't have to stay." "I know, but you are." He turned to her with a softness in his eyes few people had ever seen. "You stayed for everyone through this whole film. The long nights, the difficult scenes, the press, the rewrites, all of it. Now you don't have to stay for them. But if you need someone to stay for you, I'm here," she broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a single tear that finally fell after holding it for too long. "Thank you," she whispered. He didn't say anything. Didn't need to. For the next few minutes, they just sat there. Not as stars. Not as performers. Not even as friends trying to cheer each other up. Just as two people in a quiet corner of a world that moved too fast, sharing the weight of a goodbye neither of them was ready for. And outside, the car kept waiting. Keanu Reeves stayed. He was supposed to leave first. But he waited for Ana de Armas instead. The next morning came quietly. No alarms, no call times, just stillness. For the first time in months, Ana woke up without a script in her hand or a meeting waiting. She stared at the ceiling for a long time. City outside moved as it always did. Cars' voices, dogs barking, but inside her apartment, time didn't rush. She sat up slowly. The silence made her skin feel too thin. Every sound echoed her breath, the creak of the bed, even the soft shuffle of her socks on the floor. She made coffee out of habit, but left it untouched. Her phone buzzed twice, but she didn't look. No messages she wanted to see. No calls she wanted to take. Then a third buzz came. Short, not urgent, a text. It said, "I'm downstairs." She blinked. Shh. The name above it said Keanu. For a moment, she just stared at it. She didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or just throw on a jacket. Eventually, she did the last one. She walked downstairs in sweatpants and a hoodie. No makeup. No performance. When she stepped out, there he was. Leaning against a silver motorcycle, helmet in hand, calm as ever. "You came?" she said. "You opened the door," he replied. No big greetings. No big questions. Just mutual presence. "Ever ride?" he asked. She shook her head. "Only in movies." He held out the helmet. "Today doesn't have to be one." She hesitated. But something about the quiet way he waited made her nod. She put on the helmet, climbed on first. She followed and wrapped her arms around him. It felt strange, not romantic, not awkward. Just safe. They didn't talk much as they rode. The wind took care of that. They passed streets full of people, but inside that small moment they were alone. Ana rested her cheek lightly against his back and closed her eyes. Not to sleep, just to feel what it was like to not carry the weight. After about 40 minutes, they stopped by the ocean. It wasn't a popular beach, no tourists, just gray sand, soft waves, and a cold breeze that made them both shiver a little. "Why here?" she asked as she took off the helmet. "Quiet places help noisy minds," he said. They walked along the shore, shoes in hand. She let the water touch her toes. It was freezing. "You don't talk much," she said after a while. "Talking's overrated," he replied. She laughed. "But listening isn't? Depends who you're listening to." She grew quiet again, and then finally asked, "Why did you really wait for me last night?" He paused, not dramatically, just truthfully, because too many people leave before they ask if someone needs them to stay. She looked out at the water. "You think I need someone to stay?" she asked. "I think you needed someone not to walk away." Her voice cracked. "I didn't think anyone would see it." "I did. I felt like a shadow at the wrap party." "We're light," he said. They were just facing the wrong direction. Tears filled her eyes again. Not heavy ones. Not painful. It's just real. "I was scared," she whispered. "The whole time. Scared that if I messed up, they'd say I didn't belong. Scared they'd stop calling. Scared I wasn't enough." Keanu bent down and picked up a small piece of sea glass. He handed it to her. "You ever seen this before?" She shook her head. "Glass that breaks and gets tossed around by the ocean for years. It gets worn down, reshaped. Away at first. But later, someone finds it and says it's beautiful." She stared at the soft green piece in her palm. "You think that's me?" she asked. "I think that's all of us." "But yes, especially you." She closed her hand around it and held it to her chest. For the next hour, they sat in the sand without speaking. Not because they had nothing to say, but because they finally didn't need to say anything. The waves came and went, and so did the fears. Not all of them, but enough. When they rowed back, Ana held on a little tighter. not because she was afraid of falling, but because for the first time in a long time, she felt okay with being seen. Anna didn't sleep that night. Not because she was anxious, not because she was restless, but because for the first time in weeks, her thoughts weren't loud. They were quiet, soft enough to hear them clearly. She lay still in bed with the little piece of sea glass on her bedside table. The edges weren't sharp. It had been softened by time and pressure, just like Keanu said. That morning, the sunlight touched her face gently, as if the world was saying, today will be better. She wasn't sure how long it would last, but she was willing to try. She made a real cup of coffee this time, and then her phone rang. It was her agent. The photos from the final shoot went viral. The voice said excitedly, "You and Keanu are trending again." Anna sighed. "What did I do now?" "You didn't do anything. That's what's amazing. It's the way you two stayed behind the curtain. Someone snapped a picture just the edge of your face and Keanu sitting next to you. The internet is calling it the moment of the year." Anna rubbed her temples. "I didn't know someone took that." "It's beautiful," her agent insisted. "It's human. Anyway, people are asking for interviews. Everyone wants to know what you two were talking about." Anna didn't answer. "Should I set something up?" the voice asked. Anna looked at the sea glass, then shook her head. Slowly, "Not yet," she said. "Some things shouldn't be explained." "But Anna, this is good press." "I know," she interrupted softly. "But not everything needs to be turned into content." She hung up and tossed the phone gently onto the couch. Around noon, she got a knock on her door. It was Keanu again, holding 2 brown paper bags. "I brought food," he said. "You cook?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "I know someone who does." He replied with a smirk. They sat on the balcony floor and opened the bags. Simple food. Some soup. Warm and comforting. "You know," she said, between bites, "everyone's talking about that photo." "Figured they would," he replied. "I didn't even know someone was there. They weren't supposed to be." She looked at him. "Does it bother you?" "No," he said. "I just think it's funny. People always want to capture the quiet moments, but they never stop to ask why the moment was quiet." She nodded slowly. "That's true. You okay with it?" he asked. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "I'm not sure if people see me, ... or just a version they made up." Keanu leaned back against the wall. "Most people love the story, not the soul." Anna stayed silent for a moment, then asked, "Why did you become an actor?" He took his time before answering. "'Cause it was the only place where I could feel everything and not be punished for it." She looked at him surprised. "That's honest." "You ask the question no one asks?" he said. She laughed quietly. "What?" "What question?" "Why? Not what. Not how. Just why." She thought about that for a while. "Why did you?" he asked, returning the question. She didn't answer right away. She stared out at the sky. "I think I wanted to prove something. To people who said I couldn't. To myself. But now that I'm here, I don't even know what I proved. Maybe it wasn't about proving anything," he said. "Maybe it was about surviving." That word hit her. Surviving. Because that's what it had felt like, hadn't it? She hadn't just been acting. She'd been pushing herself through doubt, rejection, exhaustion. All to keep herself from falling behind. "Do you ever feel like quitting?" she asked him. "Every time a project ends," he said. She laughed. "Seriously?" "Yeah. And then someone tells me they saw something in what I did, something that helped them." Anna went quiet. "What?" he asked. "You just reminded me. A fan once sent me a letter," she said softly. "They said watching one of my scenes helped them come out to their family. I forgot about that letter. It was buried under everything else." "But now you remember," he said. She looked at him. "How do you stay grounded?" "I don't," he admitted. "I just surround myself with people who remind me of the ground." She nodded slowly. "Thank you for showing up today," she said. "Thank you for opening the door." They didn't hug, didn't take selfies. They just sat together until the sky turned a soft orange. Before he left, Keanu turned and asked, If you weren't an actor, what would you be? Anna thought for a moment. Maybe a writer, she said. I like the idea of building something out of nothing. He smiled. You already do that. And with that, he walked down the stairs. And for the first time since the shoot ended, Anna didn't feel like a shadow of herself. She felt like a person. A few days passed. Anna had expected the quiet to become heavier again, but it didn't. Instead, something inside her had shifted. She still felt tired, yes, but not from pretending. This was a different kind of tired, the kind that comes after honesty, after release, the kind that leaves room for healing. But the world didn't stay. Pause calls returned. Emails started piling up. Interviews were requested again. Award season whispers began. There was talk of nominations, praise, headlines, spotlight, yet all Anna could think about was the day by the ocean, the sea glass, the ride, the moment where no one asked her to be. Perfect then came a call from the director. He was holding a small private screening for cast and crew. Just one night, just one room, no red carpet, no reporters. No pressure. Will you come? He asked. Anna almost said no. The idea of watching herself felt too close to raw. But then, she asked, will Keanu be there? He already said yes. She took a breath, then yes. The night of the screening, Anna wore simple black. Not glamorous, not loud. She didn't even wear heels. Just flats. The theater was small, more like a private lounge with soft lighting and only 20 seats. No stage, no speeches. Keanu arrived 5 minutes before her. He didn't bring anyone. He never did. When she entered, he looked up and nodded. She smiled back and sat beside him. They didn't say much, just a soft "Hey, and you okay?" followed by quiet understanding. The lights dimmed. The film began. Anna expected to feel uncomfortable, to squirm at the sound of her own voice, to cringe at her close-ups, but instead she felt still. Like she was watching someone she finally understood, someone who was trying, not performing. Scene after scene played out. And when one of the final moments arrived, one where Anna stood in the rain, alone, shivering, delivering a monologue through trembling lips, she felt her hands tighten into fists. She remembered that day, how she had almost broken, how she had almost asked to reshoot it because she didn't feel strong enough. But on screen, it worked, because she wasn't supposed to be strong. She was supposed to be real. As the credits rolled, the room stayed silent. A long silence. No one rushed to clap. No one jumped up. It was as if the film had asked them all to breathe differently, and then slowly. The small crowd applauded. Keanu didn't clap. Instead, he leaned toward her and whispered, "You were the heartbeat." Anna closed her eyes. That sentence, so simple, so quiet, held more than any headline ever could. After the screening, some people left quickly. Some stayed behind, smiling, hugging. But Anna just sat in her seat for a while. Keanu beside her. "You want to go somewhere?" he asked softly. She nodded. They walked through the city that night. No paparazzi, no fans. Just cold sidewalks and neon reflections in puddles. Anna spoke slowly, but not because she was searching for words. She just didn't want to rush them. "You know what I realized tonight?" she said. "What?" "That I've spent most of my life hoping someone would see me and say, 'You matter.' But no one ever really did. They liked my face. They liked my work. But they didn't really see me." Keanu nodded. "But when I looked at myself on that screen tonight, I saw me, not the perfect version, the real one. And it didn't scare me." "That's a big thing," he said. "I think it's the first time I've felt proud," she whispered. Keanu stopped walking. "You should be, not because people clapped, but because you found something in yourself." "What if I lose it again, and we'll find it again?" She looked up at him. "You say we," she said quietly, "because you don't have to carry this alone." Those words sunk in deeper than she expected. They filled the space in her chest where doubt had lived too long. "Thank you for waiting," she said. "Thank you for letting me." They stood on the street corner a little longer. The world moved around them, cars, conversations, time, but for a moment, they were still. Not actors, not Kodash stars, just people. And Anna realized something else. The moments that matter most are never the ones in front of cameras. They're the ones when someone chooses to stay, when they don't have to. Like Keanu did. Again and again. The next morning, Anna's phone buzzed 5 times before she reached it. She sat up slowly. It wasn't panic anymore, just noise. She didn't react to noise like she used to. She checked the screen. There were messages from her agent, from friends she hadn't heard from in months, and from strangers tagging her in stories. The film had just been released on a major streaming platform overnight, and everything exploded. Clips were everywhere. People were quoting her lines. One fan had posted, "Ana de Armas, and that monologue broke me. She wasn't acting. She was living." Another wrote, "If she doesn't win, I don't want to see another award show again." Anna scrolled for a while. Part of her felt overwhelmed. Another part felt ... But then came the call. Her agent, excited fast-talking. "Anna, you've got invitations. From 3 different shows. One of the biggest late-night hosts wants to bring you and Keanu on together. Morning shows too. People want to talk to you. The performance, the story, the vulnerability, they love it." Anna listened, still holding her blanket around her. "Still there?" the voice asked. "I'm here. They're saying your name in the same sentence as Oscar buzz." She closed her eyes, breathed slowly. "What's Keanu saying?" As quiet as usual. "But he said he'll only go if you want to." That made her smile. "I'll think about it," she said. She hung up and didn't reply to any other messages. Instead, she picked up her hoodie, threw on a cap, and walked to the small cafe near her apartment, the one no one ever noticed. When she got there, Keanu was already sitting in the corner. Same table as always. 2 mugs of tea in front of him. She didn't text him. She hadn't said she was coming. But he had brought 2 mugs anyway. She slid into the seat across from him. "How do you do that?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Timing," he said. They sat quietly for a few minutes. "They want us to do press," she said softly. He sipped his tea. "I figured. You okay with that?" "Only if you are. They say we might get nominated." He smiled. "You already won something. More important." "What's that?" "Yourself." She didn't speak for a moment. The words stayed with her like the warmth of the tea in her hands. "I used to think success meant being seen," she said. "Now I think it means being understood." "Being understood," he repeated. "That's rare." "But you understood me," she whispered. "I saw what you were carrying," he said, "and I stayed. That's all." Anna looked out the window. A couple walked by, laughing. A kid dropped their toy, and a stranger picked it up and handed it back. "You think people change?" she asked. "Only when they're ready to be seen." "I think I'm finally ready." "Good," he said. "Because I think the world's been waiting." They talked for a while longer. Not about fame, not about work, about books, about dreams they had as kids, about the places they'd never been, about what peace sounded like. And then Anna said, something she hadn't said in years, "I feel like I can breathe." Keanu didn't say anything back. He just nodded, a soft smile in his eyes. When they left the cafe, a young woman approached nervously, maybe 22. She held her phone, awkwardly, eyes wide. "I'm sorry," she said to Anna. "I just wanted to say, that scene where you stood in the rain, I watched it 3 times. I've been going through a lot, and that scene made me feel like maybe I wasn't broken." Anna looked at her, not as a celebrity, not as someone performing gratitude, but as a human being. "You're not broken," she said. "You're becoming." The girl's eyes filled with tears. She nodded, whispered thank you, and walked away. Anna stood there frozen for a moment. Keanu stepped beside her and said, "And now you know." "Know what?" she asked. "Why we do this." Anna turned to him. "You really believe that? That art can save people?" "I believe people save each other," he said. "Art is just the bridge." She smiled. "So we build the bridge," she whispered. "And then we walk it with them," he added. That night, Anna didn't check her messages. She didn't worry. About awards, she didn't question her place. Instead, She wrote something down in her notebook. It's just a small note for herself. He waited. Not because I asked. Not because he had to. He waited because he saw me before I saw myself. And under that, she drew a little sketch, a piece of sea glass. Award season arrived quietly, then all at once. Invitations came in padded envelopes. Designer brands sent dresses. Makeup artists scheduled trials. Photographers lined up requests. The same people who once ignored Anna now used her name like it. Had always mattered. But Anna had changed. And because of that, everything felt different. She chose the red carpet event she feared the least. Not the flashiest, not the loudest. Just one that felt like a room with space to breathe. She didn't pick the shiniest dress either. She wore something soft, something she could move in. She didn't wear heels this time either, and she didn't. Go alone. Keanu stood beside her, calm as always. Not a date, not a statement, just a steady presence. Ready? He asked her quietly as they stepped out of the car. She nodded. As I'll ever be. The cameras flashed like lightning. Names were shouted. Questions flew like paper planes. Anna, over here. Anna, who are you wearing? Anna, do you have a message for your fans? She smiled gently, walked slowly, didn't rush. And when a young reporter asked, how does it feel to be the actress everyone's watching right now? She answered with a voice that didn't tremble. It feels like I'm finally watching myself too. They entered the theater. The lights dimmed. The ceremony began. Anna wasn't nervous about winning. She had already won something no trophy could hold. But when they opened the envelope and read her name, the room went silent for a beat. A pause. A breath. She didn't cry. Not yet. She stood up, turned to Keanu and whispered, "You're the reason I stayed." He simply nodded. On stage, under the lights, she looked out at a sea of faces. She held the award like it might melt in her hands. The microphone stood, tall, waiting. But she didn't prepare a speech. She didn't need one. "I want to thank the people who stayed," she said softly. "The ones who didn't leave when the scene ended. The ones who saw the fear behind the smile. The ones who didn't ask me to be more than I was." Pause. Especially one person who waited quietly when I couldn't even find words for what I was feeling. "You taught me that being real is better than being perfect. That staying for someone matters more than being the first to leave." Keanu sat in the second row, hands folded, eyes kind. No applause from him. Just presence. Anna ended the speech with 5 words that didn't sound rehearsed. "Thank you for seeing me." The crowd stood. Applause filled the room. But her heart stayed steady. Weeks passed, then months. The film world kept spinning. New headlines, new stars, new noise. But something in Anna never spun the same way again. She no longer rushed toward the next role. She picked stories with care. Ones that felt like healing. Ones that mattered. And sometimes, when the world became too much. She would call Keanu not to fix anything, just to sit. Once they met in the same quiet cafe, where he always brought 2 mugs of tea. She said something without needing a reason. "Think I used to act so people would stay. And now, I act because I finally stayed for myself." Keanu didn't respond right away. He just reached into his coat pocket and handed her something. It was a small box. Inside was a necklace with a charm shaped like sea glass. She looked up at him, stunned. "You remembered? You were the one who kept it," he said. "Gave it a place," she smiled, tears rising. "Not from pain, but from fullness. You waited that day on set," she whispered. "And I've never forgotten." "You weren't meant to," he said. That moment changed everything. And it had. Because one small moment a man, choosing not to leave, opened a door Anna didn't know was locked from the inside. She had walked through it, and now she stood taller. Not because the world finally applauded, but because she finally believed she belonged even when no one was clapping. Final scene years later, another young actress stood alone behind a curtain on a new set. Her first lead role. Her hands shook. No one seemed to notice. Everyone was packing up. But then she felt a hand on her shoulder. Anna, older, wiser, calm. You okay? Anna asked gently. The girl didn't speak, just nodded. Anna smiled and sat beside her. You're not alone, she whispered. Why did you stay? The girl asked, though Anna looked at her with the same eyes that once searched for someone to stay, because someone once waited for me.